Step into the world of Founders Dinner. Stories of entrepreneurial wins, losses, and lessons. Where the essence of entrepreneurship is unraveled in its most authentic form. Stas Balanevsky serves as your guide on this journey of discovery and inspiration. In each episode, Stas brings together entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds to share their stories. It's not just about their victories, but more about the resilience and adaptability they've shown in the face of adversity. These narratives are more than just stories. They are lessons in courage, determination, and the relentless pursuit of success. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, dreaming of launching your first venture, or an established business leader seeking new perspectives, Founders Dinner is your invitation to explore the transformative power of entrepreneurship. And now, without further ado, let's welcome the host of Founders Dinner, Stas Balanevsky.
So welcome to the Founders Dinner podcast, episode 7. I'm your host, Stas Balanevsky. I have the pleasure of having Trevor Buccieri with me as my guest today. Trevor, how are you?
Stas, I'm doing fantastic, man. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. And so cool that we are in the same city. I love it.
Yeah, man. Buffalo all the way.
Buffalo all the way. Go Bills.
Absolutely. One of these years, man.
One of these years. Yep. I was in university during the 4 horrible years. So unbelievable.
Well.
So, this whole podcast is all about entrepreneurs and it's for entrepreneurs. So as an entrepreneur, I'd love to start with you and your entrepreneurial journey. Who are you? Where have you been? Where are you? And where are you headed? Can you give me the whole story?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll just go into how this whole thing started for me. It's interesting. I've always been looking back. Looking back now, it's okay. You were always entrepreneurial in a sense that I was a horrible employee. Let's put it that way. And I always had my own ideas and my path. My father was an entrepreneur. He actually owned a CPA practice also in Orchard Park, actually. And I guarantee you're aware of the green sign on Milestrip and Orchard Park Road. That's been there for the corner of Milestrip and Orchard Park Road. There's a green Nick DiBuccieri CPA was him. And so I always been around entrepreneurship. I tried that. And that was not me. Accounting, it was just not me. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not going to be an entrepreneur. And in my schooling, my background is in nutrition and exercise physiology. So I was really into that, into fitness and nutrition, because my background was I was an overweight kid. I had a lot of say, kidney issues, which made me be very sedentary as a kid. And I gained a bunch of weight. I got into power eating at that particular point. And it wasn't until I was about like 17, I started working out and started eating a little bit better. And I got a transformation in my body and it completely changed my entire mindset, my confidence, everything just changed. And I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like this is nuts. That happened. Does everyone else know about this? So it really got me infatuated with that field. Ended up going away to college for that. And at the end of college, I was like, okay, maybe I'll go into teaching. I want to teach this, right? I was personal training since I've been 19 and I really got into that. So I basically had my business on the side since then. But I ended up being hired by Erie One BOCES. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that organization.
For sure.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Vocational Technology, they hired me to create their personal training program. So I wrote it was a really, really cool opportunity. I got to write the entire curriculum, make the entire program, which I loved. And as I started actually teaching, like once I actually finished developing the program and started teaching it, I was bored because I came to the realization, I was like, now I have to do this for 20 years or who knows how long. And I loved the building process and I found that out, but then I was almost like depressed. It was interesting.
Welcome to the moment when you realized you weren't just an entrepreneur, but also a visionary.
Yes. I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Now you put it that way. Absolutely. And it was interesting. I had a pretty unique experience with it. It was one day after school. I was writing on the whiteboard, putting my lessons on the board, and I got a call from my fiance at the time, who is now my wife. And we had literally just gotten engaged a week ago from that particular point, and she told me she was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So that's exactly what I said, except other words. And it definitely knocked my socks off to the point where I was like, okay, this isn't going to cut it. You know what I mean? This isn't going to cut it. And we had talked about our goals with family, and her highest value is family. And her dream was to be able to stay at home and basically do a lot harder work than what we do, is what I've learned. I'll tell you that
Oh,
right now. For any stay-at-home moms who are listening or moms who are also entrepreneurs, like, whoa, you've got my respect. But that definitely made me say, whoa, I've got to check. Not even I've got to, but here's my opportunity. You know what I mean? I want to is really where it was, but I was scared. I was very, very scared. But I was actually had a conversation with my dad on our porch, probably about a week later, because I've been really stewing. And I was like, okay, I want to start a gym. I want to open a gym. And I had this concept of basically group training, AKA what's known as boot camp now, before it was a thing. This was in 2009. And I ended up actually, this is funny. I ended up like basically saying, yeah, okay, great. We're going to do this. And my dad, man, he's amazing. He's a huge mentor to me and he was so supportive. And he's like, let's do it. He's like, I'll give you a loan. You pay it back. And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I didn't even know what I was getting into, right? So
mhm.
I built this thing with the intention of, we literally, built a brick and mortar out and I got this whole plan done and I built the program and so on and so forth. And as I was about, gosh, it was about 3 weeks away from actually opening the actual brick and mortar itself. My plan, and you're gonna enjoy this, Stas, is that I was going to hire someone to actually run the business during the day, and then
Mhm.
and then I was going to come and teach at night for something that didn't even exist, mind you. There were no SOPs. This was just something I had in my head and something I just knew how
Right.
to do. And that's when I really got like the biggest scare. I was like, whoa, that's not gonna work. Like that is not gonna work because they don't know. They don't know
This
what
was
they
3 weeks out.
Yeah, this was 3 weeks out. This was three
Nice.
weeks out. It was already built and it was literally sitting there and we had a lot of money into it. So I decided then that, okay, I'm just going to do it. So I went in that following Tuesday, which was the next day after I had this realization and I told them I was done. And I literally quit that day in the middle of the school year on the spot to give myself a little bit of time to grasp actually finishing up how I was going to do this. And I remember actually getting my dad, of course, is a CPA. He gave me kind of the finances in terms of, okay, here's about what it's going to cost. It should cost about this much per year. And it was $185,000. And at that time, I was like, what? I literally remember my wife and I were laying down on the floor in our soon-to-be son's bedroom, being like, what the hell are we going to do? How the $185,000 was more money than I'd ever could fathom, quite frankly, right? I'm stuck in a teaching job making 35, and which was the reason why I wanted to move forward. But that was the start of it. And we blew up very quickly. I had actually started the business in my house. So I was actually had this concept going in my basement, which I was trying as I was building out the brick and mortar. And we were full very quickly. And I was only teaching, I think it was 2 or 3 sessions a night. I'd teach all day and I'd come home and then I'd do my program in my basement, mind you. I turned into a little mini gym. It was
Mhm.
like it was like 7 foot tall ceilings, man. So I had this one guy who was like 6'7" and he was like that high away from
Oh,
this.
wow.
It was ridiculous, but people loved it and it helped me blow it up very, very quickly. I didn't know anything about marketing. It was one of those things. If you follow Alex Hormozy, who is brilliant, if you don't know
Oh,
who he
yeah.
is,
Billion
um,
dollar offers.
you got it, man. And leads, if you haven't checked that out, woo,
Oh,
100
yeah.
million leads, nasty. But it was a great product. And in the community of East Aurora, which is where I actually reside, it spread very, very quickly and it was a trendy thing. And I got very lucky because I think there's a lot of luck in entrepreneurship as well.
Hmm.
So that blew up. And then I discovered a program which I put into play, which was a huge differentiator called the 6 week 20-pound challenge. And that was something I started here in Buffalo. Actually received the concept from a great mentor of mine out in California. His name was Sam Bakhtiar, unfortunately passed during COVID, which sucked. But it was interesting because the conversation came out of like, hey, try this ad. And I'm looking for 30 women who want to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 weeks for free. And that was basically like the advice he gave me. And
Yep.
that kind of started a whole charade, it started a whole thing. And we went from one location to two to three to four. And then I decided to actually franchise the company and open up four new locations within one year. And
Mm.
that's really where Exactly.
That's
That's where things,
big growth.
yeah, man, we had a great culture and I made a lot of errors. I made a lot of errors at that particular point. We did franchise, but my attention couldn't be on the franchise because the 4 locations I opened up were bleeding. They were bleeding and I didn't launch correctly. I didn't market correctly. I could go on and on and on with errors that happened there, but we went from a very successful, business, very profitable business to taking all the profit and paying all the bleeding that was happening here. And it was interesting too, because this was a cool turning point. Is I was doing a lot of studying is like, what's going on? The lead generation that we have is very, very similar to what we were doing before, but we're just not converting as many. What is going on? It's everyone's marketing now, dummy. But hello, there's a lot more competition than there was back then. And I was at a Grant Cardone conference. It was the 10X business, his business program, I believe,
Yeah.
which was awesome. And that's where I landed on. I was like, oh man, there were a lot of problems, mind you. Like I needed to fix the culture and so on and so forth. But I was really like from an actual generation of acquiring new customers, it was our follow-up. And that's what I was like, whoa. And this was before any follow-up systems actually existed. So I ended up actually creating literally a full follow-up system. I said, where is every single conversation that could be happening? And I'm sorry, I'm just spewing at the mouth here.
No,
Please
no,
just
this is awesome.
great, great.
This is
Yeah,
awesome.
we called it audiences of traffic. And I came up with 32 different audience of traffic, meaning that there's 32 situations in this business where different conversations want to be happening here. And I created all these sequences and campaigns to fulfill all those. And then I was doing this out of Google Drive. So it was literally all on
Yeah.
spreadsheets. And I was, okay, I got to send Stas this message today. He's getting text message number 3 in this campaign. And oh, here, Don over here, he's getting message 5 in this campaign. It was literally just like archaic. But the big thing is that it worked. It
Mhm.
worked. All of a sudden, you could see the numbers start trending. And we were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And we started actually, then a software called Scipio came out, which allowed you to, and it was also archaic at the time. It
Yep.
allowed you to really put your campaigns in, and you could, when they finish this one, now they go into that one, or if they do this, then they go here. It was the first software that I knew of that we were able to do that. And that kind of changed the game. And it was really proof of concept of like, whoa, and we started seeing our numbers in the gym business trending, trending, trending. And we were like, oh my gosh, like it's working. Like we're actually profitable again. And then COVID hit. So I was at a point where I had really taken so much of my fundage and I'd been losing it and was just draining it and trying to fix it. And we were starting to profit again. And then we lost all of our income. And essentially that put me in it was a tough position. Obviously, with even government assistance, it wasn't really enough to sustain. And quite frankly, I think I was at the point, I've always loved body transformation and I've gotten really good at helping people lose weight. But basically it was at the point where I lost the gyms is the best way to say it. It was to the point where I couldn't support them. We were just hemorrhaging money.
Yep.
And I was like literally on the tiptoe of bankruptcy. And had it not been for the government assistance, I would absolutely have gone bankrupt. No doubt it would have happened. 1,000% it would have happened.
Mhm.
And that was a conversation of probably about 2 years of tiptoeing, walking that tightrope. It was treacherous mentally, emotionally, to my ego. I mean, talk about losing it there. Like I thought I was all cool and just crushing business in my 30s. And then here you go, like you're done. You know what I mean? Type thing. So it's a huge mental, I guess, just wall that had to come up.
I mean, that's so tough because as entrepreneurs, we sometimes attach our self-worth to our net worth,
Oh yeah.
and that is just so much head trash.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
But
Agreed. Yeah. Because it was at first, I guess you'd say, thing that I had really done very well and outstanding to the point where people were recognizing without trying, I guess you'd say.
mhm.
So it became like a significance factor for me. And obviously, in like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it was a significance for me. So it was definitely a bit of a gut wrench. It was the best thing that could have happened. So I spun after that point and I actually have had them all documented. I did 14 different things, you know what I mean? When all was said and done over like a 2 year period, 14 different, I started like a stem cell business with my buddy and we were actually doing well with that. But then COVID happened because I actually did that before we actually fully crashed, but I was trying to supplement my income
Mhm.
and a whole myriad of other things. But I landed on the follow-up. I was like, man, like this follow-up thing is huge. No one's doing it. It doesn't exist. So I actually created a company called Full Circle Follow-Up. And it was basically doing that for basically businesses, all different businesses in terms of from lead to appointment in the seat to, someone coming into your brick and mortar and sitting in your seat, so to speak.
Right.
But it was also during COVID. So no one wanted that either because no one had any expenses to be a lot for that. And that's really where I landed on what I'm in right now. I'm like, well, I'm going to do what I know, which is weight loss and body transformation. And one of the biggest challenges we had in our weight loss brick and mortar businesses was that regardless of when people lost the weight, they always had those trouble areas, call it the midsection, the thighs, and the upper arms, that no matter what they did, call it through genetics or whatnot, they just wouldn't go away. So I always wanted to get into the medical space, the med spa space. I was always intrigued by it. And I really started diving into different technologies that were out there. And I landed on LED laser light technology. And I bought probably about 12 different machines and started testing all these different application and treatment methods of how to do it and so on and so forth, which none of the information was out there. I was like, well, maybe if I do this, maybe if I try that. And I was tracking everything literally like a mad scientist. And I landed on not even the technology that was the best, but the technology that worked the best for the application and treatment method that I found was the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I nailed it. Basically, they say like spot reduction is a myth, but it's not. Like I figured it out, So I decided to take the whole follow-up concept and basically do it myself in that medical realm. So now we're doing, say, medically guided weight loss and also, say, targeted fat loss in the trouble areas in the midsection, thighs, and the upper arms. And that's really how my company that I'm in right now, Stay Young Center for Women, came to be.
That's so cool. What a story. And there's 0.0 chance that you would have ever gotten to hear without having gone through everything you went through.
None.
Which is the whole thrust of this podcast and this conversation, right? Because where you are now is amazing, but you're a great storyteller. So I want you to tell us all a story.
Yeah,
I want you to tell us about a stumble, a misstep, a wrong turn on your entrepreneurial journey. I want to talk about the cost of the mistake. And then I'd like to unpack it. So think of something on your journey where you took a stumble, not something happened to you, right?
Yeah.
But where you said, I think it's this. And the world said, no, it isn't.
But I think
Pick one with a lesson.
Yeah, I think the one I want to share is about, so as I was transitioning into the women's center where I'm right now, I also had like 2 to 3 other things going at the same time. So I was segmented, you know what I mean? I was very segmented and I was doing the follow-up business at the same time. I was doing the women's center. And then I actually started a men's center where we actually specialized in ED. So we were doing hormone replacement therapy and ED therapy and all these different things as well. And I was trying to find my footing. When hindsight, I was scared because of the drop. It's like when I was crushing it in the gyms, man, it was like I didn't even know that you could fail. You know what I mean? I didn't know that you could fall. And it was all good news. And I had been to the Tony Robbins conferences and his business mastery, which was fantastic. And the whole thing is business cycles, right? Business cycles. And I was like, yeah, whatever, right? Whatever it is. So that happened. And out of fear, I was having like all these plan Bs and it was fragmenting my attention to the point where I wasn't doing any of them well. And I think that's the biggest takeaway because I hear people and I talk to entrepreneurs all the time. And it's like the disease that we have as entrepreneurs is that we always have ideas. We always have ideas and that are going on. And what do we do with them? Do we enact on all of them? And my takeaway from that is no. If you actually want to be really good at something, we can't. Now,
Right.
there's a lot of ideas of should you have a plan B, burn the boats, all these type of things. I like a plan B in my mind because it allows me to actually focus on the plan A. And that's as far as I go with B. I don't really take it any further than like, okay, if everything's going to hit the fan here, then at least there's that. So at least I can concentrate on this. So I don't have to, what am I going to do if I can put it all into the things. That was about a year and a half ago that I fully just dropped everything else. And I started fully concentrating on the Women's Center. And it's made a significant difference. And just I'd say my overall happiness as a number one thing. And just the fragmentation in my mind and call it everything down to my family life, but also from a business standpoint, it was really, I'm able to actually create inside of that, so I've learned how to take my spastic ADD thinking, let's just say, of all these ideas and put them into a focused standpoint, put them into a focused area. And I've been able to set my vision in terms of where I want to take this thing. But now it's almost like I've trained myself to think in that one vertical so
Yeah.
that my thoughts and my crazy ideas are inside of this. You know what I mean? So we're about to take this concept online. And I've always been intrigued on that. And actually, we were doing ED patient acquisition for doctors all over the country, where I would actually market in Texas, let's just say, to guys with ED who are suffering from that. And I would actually go on and I would sell the patients, and then I would actually basically negotiate with doctors that they would do these treatments for X, and I would keep the remainder. So that was one of the things I was doing in this whole thing. So I know the online sales business very, very well. I know weight loss very, very well. So my goal is multi-locations. And so I'm like, well, what's a better multi-location in the women's center than going online? So that's how I've been able to compartmentalize my yearning to continually create and expand, but putting it in one box that has now opened up a whole new land of opportunity, a whole new level of quality in what I'm able to produce, and also a lot more, I guess, just ease, you know, ease
Yeah.
in my life, man.
So let's redefine one term, if you'll allow it. Your ADD, let's start calling that your visionary genius.
No, oh, I love my ADD. I love it.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
because you're right.
the
I wouldn't change that. Like, I think it's the biggest gift because I was on like Ritalin as a kid and all that shit. And I don't know how I would ever function without it. You know what I mean? It is a superpower. I've learned it's
is
a superpower for sure because here's the thing. And I say that very loosely because I've actually looked into this quite a bit. Everyone has attention deficit disorder and shit that they hate or don't care about. Like think about a subject matter in school that you were just like, oh God, we all have ADD there. But we also have attention surplus order, which is the opposite side of attention deficit disorder in the areas that we love. Because of this visionary superpower, we'll call it, I'm able to kind of outwork in my area of genius or the areas that I want to. I could go like 40 hours and be like, oh my God, it's been 2 days. Like, what happened? And get all this stuff done.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you're right, man. That I'm so grateful for that. So grateful for that. And I think it's labeled in a way that is misunderstood. And it's labeled in a way that as I was growing up, I was like ashamed of it. I would never like share, oh, I was diagnosed with ADD. I don't really believe in it, but I know the persona that it's given me. And you're right. It is. And it's funny because whenever I talk about it like that, I say it in terms that I think people will understand or relate to. But I'm like, man, I feel bad for you if you don't have that ability, so to speak.
Well, it's a label. It's funny. I remember I have two boys in their 20s, and I remember talking to peers and friends saying the qualities that we love and respect in our friends, we detest in our children. Right? Right. Because how many buddies do you have that are like, oh, this guy's so tenacious, he gets what he wants 100% of the time. And then you have that at home with a kid, and you're like, dude, seriously, listen to me.
Mhm.
Whereas the kid's like, nope, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to go get. Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
all of these qualities, like that you're saying is one of your superpowers, we're trying to get kids to sit still. Like I'm a big proponent that yes, you have to be respectful, you have to sit still, you have to do all the things, and you have to just gut it out.
Hmm.
But do not squash, do not medicate out someone's ability to come up with 150 ideas in the span of 10 minutes,
Absolutely.
which is something that 2% of the world can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would I take your Superman cape and put it in a drawer and be like, you get to be Clark Kent for the rest of your life?
Yeah. And I think you nailed it. In my personal opinion on this, and take it or leave it, but I think you nailed it is because 98% of people don't understand it. And I
Mhm.
think we become uncomfortable with what we don't understand and we try to put it in a box, label it something, and just put a solution on it and actually think that's a real solution when it's just not understood or it's not really embraced. It's not the other side of how does that benefit you is generally not asked. How is this going to benefit someone? As opposed to, oh, why is it a bad thing? Oh, because Trev's not paying attention in history class. Well, I hated history because I didn't have great history teachers, but I love watching war movies now because that's a great teacher to me and that's a different entertainment factor in a way that I can engage with the same subject matter. And I've learned great history because of it. But up until this point, I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? So I just think it's misunderstood potentially because you're so right, man. I agree with you. It's a great trait and a developed trait and I didn't even say a skill. All these different this stubbornness, right? It's a skill. It's something that has to be sharpened and actually, I guess you'd say, honed a bit to be able to deliver it and to be able to get what you want from it. Call it persuasion, whatever you will. And it's a great quality, like you said, in your buddies, in your colleagues, and people around you. But it's interesting when it's actually being done to you. You know what I mean? And the perspective, like you said, it's like, man, if we could keep that perspective on, it's like, oh, they're just like they're playing the game right now. Like they're actually playing. Okay, like I commend. And my 14-year-old is that. My 14-year-old is that. Absolutely. He's me. He's a little me, way further ahead than I was at 14, but he's like
Sure.
me at 30 something. It's crazy.
That's awesome. But I'm sure you're giving him all the space to go be great.
Yes, absolutely. So right now, his big thing is, do I have to go to school? Dude, you're in eighth grade. You
Yes,
know,
you do, because it's a crime if you don't.
right. Yes, exactly. But I've sold it to him. And again, rightfully so, in a sense of, hey, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Consider this a subject matter aside. This is teaching you the discipline of time management. And this is teaching you how to learn and how to actually segment your time, organize your time, and utilize your resources to be able to create an end product, to be able to deliver on something. Because I don't care what you do. When everyone says, oh, I love, if you love it, you don't work a day in your life. There are things in business or any endeavor that you're not going to enjoy doing the most. And eventually, as you grow, you can delegate these things, sure. But
Mhm.
then there's also areas of superpower that you have that you're like, this is going to be something I'm going to keep on. Like for me, do I love marketing? Not now I do because I've actually become good at it. And I think when we hone these things that maybe we're not great at, but we know that we're the best that we know of, once we get better at it, then we start to enjoy it. But I think there's things that need to be done.
We have this great matrix. It's called the delegate and elevate tool. It's your standard 2x2, right? Upper left hand quadrant, stuff I love to do that I'm great at.
Mm,
Upper right, stuff I like to do and I'm good at.
mm,
Lower left hand quadrant, stuff I don't like to do, but I'm good at. And then the lower right quadrant is stuff I don't like to do that I'm not good at. So
love
that
it.
lower right hand quadrant, you have to jettison all that stuff right away, get rid of it because you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your business, blah, blah, blah. The sad reality is in that lower left hand quadrant of don't like but good, you want to take a stab at what percentage of people's professional lives are there?
Do you know the statistics on this?
I do.
I would say a good 60%.
80.
Damn.
So for you and me, that's hell.
Oh, yeah,
Like that's
absolutely.
no thank you. Right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the reason the tool is called delegate and elevate is you start to pick one thing out of those lower quadrants
Mm,
that you can delegate to an AI, a
mm,
virtual, another human, a system, a process, a whatever. Get it off of your accountability, get it onto someone or something else's. And that delegate is what allows you to elevate into highest and best use. So to go lever off of your geniuses instead of loading the dishwasher,
yeah.
where you're like, I'm good at it, but I don't know if this is necessarily the best use of my time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Am I
dude,
inspired?
you know what? That's something that I think about all the time
Mhm.
is, okay, why am I doing this thing? One thing
Yeah,
that we always teach is if you're doing $25 an hour work, you're stealing from your company.
absolutely.
Yeah, like you're not allowed to do that. That's
Yeah.
too expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's a great way to frame it too, especially as you're working with, say, a team member who I have right now who has trouble with delegating. I think that's a great way to frame it to where it's actually not to them, but for them. And I think that's very, very important.
For me, the other sort of facilitation technique that I would use on that is all about value, all about dollars. Make it into a math problem. Trevor makes $10 an hour and can produce 10 widgets in an hour.
Mm.
So that's $1 a widget. Stas makes $5 an hour and can only produce 6 widgets in an hour. Less. than what Trevor can produce. But I am at 96 cents or 94 cents per widget. So at the end of the day, I am more efficient than you.
Correct.
You are better at it than I am, but I don't need to be better than you at it. I just need to be more efficient at it. Mm-hmm. And the thing that we as high achievers have to be okay with is there is zero chance that I'm going to be able to bench as much as you can. Zero chance. Right? And I don't need to.
Right.
Right? If I'm benching the bar and you're benching whatever, it is what it is because I'm not in your seat. I'm in my seat.
Right. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. By the way, I would love a copy of that system you were talking about too, because it's very, very similar to the important, urgent, important, not urgent.
The Eisenhower matrix.
Yeah, which is fantastic. But I love that for just a self exercise of, am I delegating properly? Am I in my area of genius? Because I think the takeaway I was getting as you're explaining is, yeah, when you're in that bottom right, I believe it was, is that correct? Where the
bottom left, left. Don't like but good at it.
Yeah, man, how much is that leaching from your area of genius? I would say that it's leaving it almost impossible, quite frankly.
I have visionaries like yourself that are like, yeah, man, what's cool? I'm managing marketing and a little bit of finance. And I'm like, you are not doing your job. When's the last time you innovated something? When's the last time you were at a trade show? When's the last time you spoke at a conference? Oh, wow, it's been years. I'm like, great. Name me 7 new things the company's done in the last year. And they're like, nothing. Wow. I'm like, how does that make you feel? It's like, makes my brain hurt. It makes me feel like I'm being ignored. Because you're not, now it's a two-way street, right? Because sometimes that delegation also comes from micromanaging. And it comes from, no, this is the way to do it. And then that's 2 people doing a job really poorly for double the expense and 5 times the frustration.
Yes.
So the thing, I think the lesson that I'm learning, and this is the one that I'm going to apply and teach all my visionaries, is I think the thing that you're saying is you have found a way to take your visionary genius and make it focused from a diffused genius of lead gen, ED, boom, stem cell, blah, blah, 7 different things to I'm going to be in this lane. I'm going to be amazing at it, innovate inside of this, which for us, like we call that core focus. Yep. Combination of your purpose, cause, and passion and your niche. Where do you choose to do battle? Where are you going to win? Because if you're fighting on 7 different fronts, you're never going to win. You could do all right. But if you're fighting the stem cell battle against other stem cell companies, you're fighting the ED battle against hims and other people, and you're fighting like the aesthetics game and this game, like people are going to outflank you all day.
All day.
But when you're focused and you're number one, that's it. You're fortified.
Yeah, man.
Talk to me a little bit about Plan B, because so you've gone broke.
Yep.
I've gone broke.
I was broke. Yep.
Yep. Same.
Yep.
Can't describe that feeling, can you?
Man, I was getting blood pressure. I mean, like you name it, you know what I mean? It was happening. I was having some like addiction issue. Like it was happening. I was coping. I was all this stuff.
Self-medicating.
Yeah, it was horrible, but great at the same time.
It is. But so let's unpack that like Plan B, because before it sounds like you had a Plan B thing going. Like that was operating. So you're side gigging your primary thing and you're trying to be hedged. Now you've got your Plan B idea, right? So you're not working the idea, but you've got your Plan B and C ideas. They're on the shelf. They're sitting there.
Yes.
One thing that I've discovered is super like overly aggressive saving, like overly aggressive, to get to a point where your financial planner goes, how are you living? Just for a couple of years, then creates a Plan B where you're like, it's just my fortress of solitude. Like I just have the assets.
Yeah.
Right. One of my exits allowed me to ride through a horrific dip I did have to go into qualified investments. I wasn't smart enough to borrow against them. I did have to pay the tax and pay the 10% rip on pulling money out of a 401k in your 40s, right? That sucked,
Yep.
but it was there. So for me, I've decided that my plan B is only cash. I do not have a plan B. I do not have an idea because I'm not as good as you at this. I can't have anything else occupying my brain other than what I do.
Mm.
I've decided, because you use the term burn the boats, and we talk about that all the time. I have
Yeah.
I have some good buddies in a Vistage group that helped me when I started this business. As an implementer, I was still doing some other stuff. And one of the guys was like, stop doing that. I'm like, plan to. In 6 months, I'm going to transition and blah, 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 blah. Do it today.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't do it today. He goes, why not? I said, because I feel like I'd be screwing over my clients. He goes, you're screwing them over in 6 months.
Yeah.
He's like, there's zero difference. He's like, why? And that guy, who's actually coming to my office later today, he just kept grinding and grinding. And he finally was like, what's up? Why not? For real. I'm like, I don't want to tell my wife because she is not going to care. I guarantee you. So I'm like, fine. March home. I'm like, hey, honey, I dragged this business behind the barn and I shot it in the head. She's, oh, okay. What's that worth? I'm like, I don't know, 100 and a half. She's like, oh, so that's like X amount of clients. I'm like, yeah. She goes, cool. So I'm doing pasta for dinner. Just nonplussed.
Exactly.
I'm like, holy crap, he was right.
Yeah.
Right?
Brilliant, by the way. Brilliant man, by the way. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
no, yep. And tenacious, back to the tenacity thing, right? That guy was a dog on a bone. He was not going to let me go. No.
Wow. And I guess, dare I say, and I guess it's almost one of those things that maybe is Captain Obvious here, through his own experiences is why he knew that, not because of something he read in a book, which is
Oh,
great, by the way, but gosh, so many things I read in books came to light when I crashed and I was like, duh, like I remember
there
that.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we have a hard, fast rule whenever we offer a suggestion. This is in Vistage and EO and EOS and all of these different things. Experience shares only.
Yep.
No theory. I got plenty of theory. I don't need your help with your theory, right? I want to know, what does it feel like when the bank says, hey, you've busted one of the covenants on your line and we're calling it, you have 30 days,
Yes.
right? When your heart stops. Like, I want to know what that is,
Yeah.
right? Not in theory, what you should do is liquidate. Shut up. I know. Right? Forget theory. Give me practice.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you're so right, man. And it's interesting as you were talking about the plan Bs there, I was going through my plan B, which I don't really think about much,
Mhm.
but I had two, I guess you'd say. And one of them is the online thing, because and that which is actually what I'm going to be doing anyways, which is interesting. And I found that both my plan Bs, so to speak, actually align with what I'm already doing. So it almost becomes one, if you will. The online thing is if I lost my brick and mortar ever, or whatever happened, like my skill set's still here. What I know is still here. My systems are still here. I own all these. So I could just go online with no cost and do that. And the only thing I'm paying is, say, marketing to acquire. And then also my profit is much higher. So it's almost like that's as far as I got with my plan B. But as we're looking to go into multi-locations, I'm like, this makes the most sense to actually test this before investing into another brick and mortar, which has a lot of upfront investment to begin with, based on everything I just said. Basically, no expenses, and it's a little bit of a different logistics that need to be set up, but that's just time that just happens as I'm already doing what I'm doing anyways. It almost makes logical sense. Let's give this a go for a second and see what happens. And then my other plan B, funny enough, would be I would take what I have right now and my offers, and I would actually go into other med spas and I'd say, you offer these type of lasers? Okay, great. How much would you actually need to treat this many treatments? You
Mhm.
know, and we'd settle on a cost, and I'd go and market with my own money that I had left, because all I'd need is like $1,000 to get going on it. market with my own money. I basically sell what I'm doing right now inside of their practice and take a greater portion of their revenue. Essentially, it's still in line with exactly what I'm doing right now, because I have had plan Bs that are completely out of scope with what I'm doing. And also what I've really found, what I really actually love, like you said, like what you're passionate about, what
Mhm.
you actually love doing too. So now my plan Bs are actually like in the same wheelhouse. And I guess it's almost like
It's
similar
not
to a
plan
sense.
B, it's
Yeah,
plan Next.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
thing, it's not, it's an add-on. It's beautiful.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I think that focus lesson, I think like that for me, the biggest takeaway that I hope people grab out of this episode is focus that genius, right?
Yes.
Focus that genius, because all these things you thought that's going to be plan B. No, that actually feeds the machine. That's plan C. Well, no, that actually feeds the machine too. It
Yeah.
all feeds the machine because you've been able to go from diffused focus to laser focus in the thing.
Yes. Yeah. I heard a great quote that said, growth comes through subtraction, not addition. And that's basically where
Yeah.
everything changed for me. I was like, oh, yeah, that made complete sense to me. And that's where things started shifting. And I started looking at all the things that I was doing. And I guess was the hardest thing to do is to actually be honest with myself and be like, yep, that's addition. That's addition. This needs to go. That needs to go.
Scary.
And yeah, it is scary. But then when you actually do it and you remove those things, you feel it. Like actually, obviously we know all this. Oh, it feels like an elephant's been lifted, all that stuff, but it actually really does. And it's liberating in that sense. When you get like an inspiration back, you're like, there I am. You can probably relate to that feeling of, did I lose it? Have I lost it? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying with that? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, am I gone? Have I lost my gumption? Am I washed up? Is it over for me? Like all these different thoughts that were going into play. But when you're fragmented, how can you actually crush it?
Yeah. That's the thing. Do one thing, do it really, really, really well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
uh, yeah, when you got it, when it's happening, oh my gosh, it's so amazing,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You're out there like you're changing lives, lots of them.
Totally. Totally, man. Yeah, that's the benefit. If you can change lives, be the best at what you do, and get handsomely compensated, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that the best deserve to get compensated like that because of the impact. And I think that's also creates more opportunities for those who are truly committed to getting better at any craft to expand and basically provide more service, a higher level of service, and help more people, essentially. Because it needs to be that. Obviously, we can't be call it morally, ethically, aside from actually have a crap product and service and expect it to actually do well for a long period of time. Like anyone can sell crap in a box and make profit for a minute, but once people find out, no, 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 don't buy that. That's crap in a box. That's
Right.
going to also spread too. So I think it's the whole circle, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. What an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure's mine, man.
This
Yeah,
was so
absolutely.
much fun. And
Yeah, agreed.
I'm so psyched that we're connected through other things too that we just
Yeah,
found out about. So
yeah,
that's going to be
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, I'm really glad I got to the opportunity to meet with you and be on your show here. This is fantastic. I love everything you had to say and the concepts that you're teaching your organization and others, it sounds like as well, which is, yeah, I just love it. It's great. And in terms of like that, what do you call that matrix that you were talking about?
With the delegate and elevate matrix.
My gosh, I think that would be just such a valuable lesson for any entrepreneur to hear because we have so much, coming into play and all these events and learning events and so on and so forth. And really what it's doing when you go to these events is it's adding more to our list. When I've learned that here's my goals going in. I always go into these events now with my goals and my quarterly goals. And I say, does this relate to this? If not, it goes on the notes and it just stays in my notes. And if I ever need to find anything about this, fantastic. If it's focused on my rocks and my larger rocks of my vision, then it becomes potentially a thing. But I think in many cases, I've gone to events, especially earlier in the days, where it's like everything was great and I had to implement everything. And
Yeah.
that tool would have been amazing, especially in earlier entrepreneurship. And actually, right now, too, I don't care what level or what level of maturity you're at. I think that it's a great self-check tool. Just that concept, just to enable, am I actually being focused? Because oh yeah, I'm focused. I'm doing this and that and this and that. It was like, oh, really? Like to an outside person, it might not sound like you are as much as you think. And I think that we sell ourselves many times also as entrepreneurs in the directions that we're going. And I think it's great to have that. It's almost like I would love someone to do that to me, so to speak. When almost here's what I'm seeing type thing, I think, which is called therapy, if you will, just to here's my goal. Can you hold me accountable to that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's what I do with a lot of my entrepreneurs. And it's so much fun to come back and be like, hey, these are the goals. These were your rocks. What'd you get done? What didn't you get done? Tell me why. Let's figure it out. Let's predict the next quarter, and let's 1 day of vision and 89 days of traction living in that 90-day world.
Yes, absolutely.
Keep on doing it forever.
And yeah, exactly. It's never going to be done. I think that's another lesson as well that you learn. Oh, I hate leaving a task undone. There's always going to be another task. So everything's always undone, because as soon as you finish the one thing, you get ideas on expansion on this and that and so on and so forth. And I think that's the whole point, is at least what I'm learning and taking away is, again, if you're enjoying what you're doing, why would you want it to be done? Really?
Well, the only reason you want it to be done is when you want to have a huge liquidity event and go do something else.
Absolutely. But again, you're never done.
No, but there's something else. Then the next business could be smile maintenance, where you just maintain your own smile.
Absolutely.
Waking up every day going, how do I make me happier today? And then go do that thing, because you have unlimited cash and unlimited time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Oh, that'll be nice. I look forward to that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that's probably the goal of most entrepreneurs. Yeah, I'd say. We want to do well, but we want to earn well as well.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
That's right. Wow. Trevor, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And with that concludes this week's episode of the Founders Dinner podcast. For those looking to connect with Trevor, his link is going to be in the description. And this is Stas Balanevsky signing off. See you all next week.
Take care, everyone.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Founders Dinner, stories of entrepreneurial wins, losses, and lessons. Once again, we've journeyed through the inspiring and challenging world of entrepreneurship with Stas Balanevsky, uncovering stories that illuminate the resilience and adaptability at the heart of success. Each narrative shared today is a testament to the unyielding spirit of our entrepreneurial guests, providing lessons in courage and determination. We hope these stories have not only entertained, but also inspired you. Whether you're taking the first steps in your entrepreneurial journey or are a seasoned leader in the business world, Founders Dinner is more than just a podcast. It's a community of learning, inspiration, and connection. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful episodes and join our vibrant LinkedIn community to continue the conversation, share experiences, and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. Until next time, keep embracing the entrepreneurial journey. This is Stas Balanevsky, thanking you for being a part of the Founders Dinner family. See you at the next dinner.